So, certain artists, I used to pay them when I was out of body, which is I had to be everything on earth, right? I had to be a tree and a dog and a cat and a bird. I had to be one of each, even down to the smallest atom, right? In order to copy code save the world, right? So it's not really like saving the world. The idea of what the world is no saving the very basics of our economy. So when you say food and stuff like that, yeah, that's important. But you can grow food. You can't grow a whole nother organic object like this without putting in the spiritual pressure, right? Like you have to be on the grind, not just 7 days, like every day, being a different animal to service God and show the other animals how to be good, right? Everyone's talking about be like Jesus, be like Jesus. How about you just be like yourself, but a better version, right? Be yourself, but make sure you keep it high vibrational. No matter what negative dirt thoughts come through, be who you are, right? So I don't like a lot of okay, let me just rewind. Vincent van Gogh, let's just talk about him. When I used to work with him, and I remember it because I was able to lay flat on his work, right? So my emotions was able to lay flat. Like I can keep all of my intellectual body and live in a painting world. So I would say commission a paint of a cabin in the woods or something like that, or a palace in Dubai, I would live in those paintings before you can even travel to that place, because that place has to be thought of, right? So if it's not thought of, it's not a real place, right? So if God hasn't thought about it, it's not real. Especially with time restarting, God has to remember in order to save. But if God said, hey, I don't want to remember them, I don't remember this timeline, I don't feel like it's worth saving, she drops that memory. So that memory can never be connected to those people, and those people will never exist. So war will never exist, because all of those memories, those traumatic memories, were reworked.
The device was not able to prime the patient line. Follow on-screen instructions to resolve. The system is priming.
So if God isn't able to rework the timeline smooth enough to where she can lay flat and bare her emotions, that whole timeline disappears, right? So the same thing with music. Like if God loves songs, she stores them in her own heart, right? Because it's a database of library files, all that kind of stuff within the heart of God. The heart is connected to the opening. Like in order to get to the heart, it's like getting to the library. It's getting the head's also the library. I mean, there's books everywhere, all throughout. Your whole DNA ladder is just books, and you are the librarian telling people where things are. Send this book up to the brain so you can remember, right? How fast are you at recollection? How much do you have to process in order to get to certain memories, right? So when I would work with certain artists, I would tag my memories within their art, and I would lay flat and bare there, right? I'm not saying, but I am saying, do you know what I mean? And sometimes that would mean I would pay them in experience points, extra health points, the next life, give them a better upgrade or whatever. There's certain nuances when it comes to using an artist's work without losing yourself in their art, right? So when it comes to paintings, I would live in paintings. I wouldn't live, because that's how I created the 3D world, was I asked artists to print up what I'm thinking, and then I would go to live where I was thinking, right? So my consciousness transferred into that painting, making it worth a lot of money, because all they had to do was, knock on wood, and I would come running out of that painting, because most of my kids know to knock on wood is to call me out of tree, and I would handle that business. But if you knocking on that motherfucking tree, that comes with a consequence too, because you're calling an owl out of her tree, and she's feeding her babies, and it's midnight, and it's da. So sometimes when an artist would go not famous in their lifetime, it was like an agreement between us and the struggle that I needed. I needed that art to remain undercover. I needed that art to just stay low key, right? If any time I was initiating a new one of my masculines, I would be like, yo, low key, low key, low key, right? I would always give it a low key, because you're still on A minor. You're still playing piano keys. You're still learning the basics of astronomy, astrology. You're still learning the basics. So you stay in A minor. And I don't fuck with minors. Like, I get it. I get falling in love when you two minors. You're like, oh, we're minors. A minors, A minors. Celebrities hooking up. A minors, A minors, A minors. Right, I get it. But I need equal vibration. And that was very hard in my line of work, right? And my line of work is, most of the guys wanted the walk to the hall to be easy, right? They didn't want to do any more work. Like, this generation just stopped wanting to carry the boulders down the hill, because they're like, I want to play on my MPC. I want to play on my PlayStation. They lost that inner monologue with God, climbing down the mountain. They forgot, right? They would get up, go to sleep, talk to God, be like, oh, God would send him dreams and tell them, oh, remember this, I need help with this. I would need help with this. And then they would wake up, and then they would just forget everything I said. And I could say that that's because it takes because it takes modification of the human soul, modifications, upgrades to advance the human condition, right? So whenever I would put my consciousness into art, it would make that person shoot up into some sort of stardom, because they're like, oh, this person is getting pure honey, right? Their art is making me feel this way. So it's because I can feel everything all at once. I thought that was, that's why sometimes I go numb. I thought it was a curse from God, that I was a cursed woman. I thought. I'm not. Now I noticed. But I thought that God was mad at me because he gave me all these hard tasks, like really hard in the spiritual. Like I'm seeing girls, like all they have to do is reach out to their masculine, connect their third eye, and they're already married. They're already in a soul bonded relationship that has borne fruit already. You know what I mean? And I would look at it in my body right now. And that confusion that I felt wasn't confusion, it was jealousy. You know, that spirit of jealousy turns into envy, turns into wrath, right? So I had to turn my wrath in on itself, right? So once I take all of the remembered pieces that I want to remember in every timeline, all my kids that signed up, made sure they did their Social Security stuff, they got their numbers, they're waiting, right? But the people who are clueless, I threw stones at their glass house. Their glass house is saying, I'm better than you. Their glass house is saying, you know, look at us, we're on top. Their glass house was saying, oh, I don't have to listen to nobody. This is my land. My grandfather built this land. My great-grandfathers, they don't go that far back in order to be considered of this land. They like go 2 generations and be like, yeah, we were here. Nigga. So the communication then comes on, why would I settle when I haven't learned my lesson because I'm very hard-headed, right? Why would I be like, oh, I've been settling all my life because I'm like, look, I can't do no better. Just give me what I got and I'm done. You know, I'm going to complain about it because I need a good person, but I made my bed, I'm going to just lay in it. Who cares, right? But I changed that mind frame being like, okay, well, if I sit down like my fucking higher self said, she said, sit the fuck down. It'll all come to you. Tell me why I'm driving to go to the store to get my baby some stuff for her birthday. And the way that I'm living, or where I'm living, the trees started to bow that way. The way I am. The trees are starting to bow. So the higher selves are starting to gain consciousness and point their tips towards me. And people are like, oh, you're not the center of the galaxy. You don't own everything. You're not Jesus. You're not God. You're not this. Oh, but my higher self and me are one. That's it. My higher self and me are one. If you don't know that you have a higher self, why the fuck are we even talking? We're not on the same page. So then we're getting into the aspects of how art is how art is God. Do you get it? Art is God. How you express that exuberant energy that you maintain within your heart and your soul, how you dance, how you sing, how you move, that energy pours out of you. That's God. That's the God in you trying to reveal itself. Right? So in the end of all of the cycles that we go through, the last and final cycle is to be with yourself. It's not about twin flame relationships. It's not about finding a matching soul It's about being by yourself and feeling good and watching your own videos and paid stalking yourself. You know? Finding a medium between being self-centered and centering yourself. Right? A self-centered person is going to put on a mask of perfection in order to get you to buy into the subscription. A self-centered person is going to take their circumstances that they're handed and make everybody else miserable around them because that's their circumstance. But once we start branching out and we realize that the earth is bigger than us, that's when we realize that everything that we believe to be true can be if we put in enough delusional artwork. Delusional artwork. Take their illusion, tell them to shove it up their tush, and rewrite your own art. Be inspired by the Frank Oceans, but don't worship that guy. Be inspired by Hosier. Don't worship him. Be inspired by the streamers who are doing their fucking thing right now. But don't worship them. Don't worship basketball players. Don't worship, because they have the illusion pointed at them extra hard. See their illusion and raise them 50. I'm not saying that you gotta go out there and beg TikTok for the attention that you need. I'm not asking you to ask your mom to, follow you online. Do something with yourself. Paint, draw, sing. Don't sit there and masturbate yourself into a stupor. Because the energy can only go one way. The energy can go millions of ways. It's how you move the world around. How you breathe your creations into life. Whether that being Susie Homemaker with 3 kids. Whether that be a gardener who loves her cat. And people love how much she loves her cat. That's beautiful. She lives in a fucking forest with her cats and fucking llama-llamas. Look at her. She's happy. Her husband makes her fucking andouille sausages, real fucking Cajun fucking food. She's living it up in her high, whatever type of flowers there are. They're really long looking flowers. She's living her life. She's got wildflowers growing in her front yard. Wildflowers, guys. No grass. She's got a cute little fence and a barking dog and a cat. That's her life and it's art. You got the guy over here who has to get up every day and go to Taco Bell to make y'all food, and y'all don't even say thank you. But he still do it with a smile on his motherfucking face because he knows a secret. No matter where you are in the culinary world, God is teaching you a lesson. She's teaching you in the kitchen. You ever just be in the kitchen one day and you're just like, damn, I'm inspired to cook, and you go and you whip something up and it's beautiful and you want to share it? Or you don't want to share it. You want to keep it for yourself and say, I did this. You don't even take a picture because you don't want to look back at it. You want to remember through taste buds, through the pictures in your head. Listen, people play on a different level and call it art. Listen. There's a man out there. He sings songs on stage. He manifested himself into singing on a stage, and everybody listens. But when he goes home and he sits down, he just regular. He roasts marshmallows outside for his kids. He likes to organize the laundry because he likes how the colors coordinate in a line. He enjoys sitting there with a cup of tea, reading a book. Come on now. That's art. Being something for everybody else, but keeping this for yourself. You can manifest anything you want in this whole matrix, but at the end of the day, when you are sitting with yourself and your God, your highest form of you, are you okay with that? Or do you need to entertain everybody in order to be the biggest clown, in order to put on the biggest wig, in order to be the biggest heifer? There is a beautiful black, dark-skinned woman out there who had a quaint, happy life until some 60-year-old man bought her because her parents accepted a dowry of 60 cows. She wanted to fall in love. And that was taken from her because of money. So you don't tell me why you're taking away the inheritance from them. Anyone who takes away the ability for my girls to be able to fall in love and follow their passions will not get a damn dime from me. Anybody practicing child sodomy, child brides, child separate from your family for some fucking cows or $10 or fucking, you will not be getting nothing from me. Your bones and your curls' bones will be strewn about the desert land. It's not your choice anymore, guys. The women are free. The children are free. And if you put restraints on the people and children that I am saving, that we are saving, you will not live. Because bondage is outlawed on my earth. Somewhere in the world, there's a little mouse who had a dream. He wanted to be a human, and he wanted to be on the stage with his father. That little mouse had to go through so much, like Job, reworking his genetics from cheetah to puma to cow to dog to orangutan to all over the spectrum until he wound back in his human form and he got his dream come true to perform with his father on stage. And that mouse had a dream and it translated. That's art. All right, get your books out now, kids. We're going to be going through the rainbow chapter, and I'm going to show you guys how to use the rainbow to program your music and your art. Thank you for tuning in to my lecture in the dark, where I don't have to pretend to be anything I am not. I can just say what I want to say. This has been your teacher, Miss Rainbow, on the dark side of the moon. Have a good night.